Okay, this is the critical lap. This is the critical lap. Confirm.
Leave me alone. I know what to do.
Welcome back to the Critical Lap podcast. It's race week at the Imola Grand Prix, the Emilia-Romagna Italian Grand Prix. This is your official Imola Grand Prix-View. My name is Ruben, and I'm here with Daniel. Daniel, how are you?
Doing good. On the road again, out here, doing what I do, and
Doing what you
excited
do.
for the weekend. Very excited for the weekend.
That mysterious day job over there. Just traveling around, seeing the world, probably checking in with Formula One teams. Very exotic, no doubt.
Never know.
Could
I'll
be.
never tell.
You never know. Well, okay. We're excited. I don't have a sponsor for today's episode, but it's brought to you by whatever sponsor pops to your mind before we get started.
Today's episode. Welcome back to the Critical Lap. Today's episode is brought to you by willpower, sleep deprivation, and charm.
Yeah. So Mother's Day weekend went well for you, it sounds like. Okay, well, before we get started, I've got a request. If you're enjoying the Critical Lap, take a second to subscribe, leave a comment, pass it along to a friend. We're excited about race week. We're going to get in for this episode. We'll be going through some news, some updates from around the paddock, as they say, in the Formula One scene, what's going on around the world. We'll talk about some storylines that we're excited about for the Grand Prix weekend. Maybe get into some nicknames, talk a little bit about going for the gap when a good time to watch is. So maybe a few quick reactions. Let's jump in. We got a bunch of news to cover. Jack Doohan, he's out. Now we're going to be asking what's next for Valtteri Bottas, and Jack Doohan, what is he doing? Colapinto is in. So I'm going to warm you up with some dad jokes, and then we'll get going. Colapinto's in. Which I think we're all excited to see Colapinto back. Welcome back to F1, Franco Colapinto. But did you see Daniel?
Yeah,
hit me.
Colapinto, the Tsunoda of Alpine, the one that should have gotten the seat anyway. As I've always said, I like doing, but Colapinto had a little bit more street cred than anybody else.
So Colapinto is the Tsunoda of Alpine. That makes Jack Doohan the Liam Lawson of Alpine. Yeah. Drop him in there.
If only Alpine had
races,
like a junior
that's good enough.
Team. Yeah.
Yeah. Colapinto's in, but I don't know if you saw, there was a quote from Alpine: as part of an ongoing assessment of its driver lineup, the team has made the decision to rotate one of its race seats for the next 5 rounds in the 2025 FIA Formula One World Championship. I messed it up. I was so determined to say that right. 2025 FIA Formula One World Championship. 5 rounds. They're literally saying we're going to give Colapinto 5 rounds. They're calling it a rotation of drivers. So I don't
this
think
isn't bad.
No.
I think I'm okay with this approach. I think
just
it's kind of like
break.
Let's see how we do. Granted, Doohan might have been lucky to be in the round that he was in. Maybe Colapinto gets lucky to be in the round that he's in because, we've got a certain set of tracks coming up. We had a different set of tracks before. One might be better than the other. One area,
Yeah.
Of course, whoever's later comes with more upgrades from the car too. There's a lot of different things that could work to Colapinto's advantage here.
Well, I was just surprised that they were rotating them, stating it as a rotation. I can't think of a situation over the last couple of years where they stated that overtly that it was a potentially like just a temporary slot for one driver over the other, or even just kind of speaking about them as having one in reserve and ready to go.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't remember a team doing this before. We've obviously seen drivers get canned, but
right.
Kind of keeping all options on the table. If you're doing, are you willing to stick around? I would be, just to say, I'm still in the sport. I'm still sort of on the grid.
Right. Well, and another consideration I think there is that I don't know how long it's been a minute since I've looked at Pierre Gasly's contract, but he's performing fairly well and he's driven for other teams, right? I don't know how long Alpine's going to be able to hang on to a driver of his quality when you have other teams starting to come in and look for drivers as well. So Not a lot is said about Pierre Gasly, but some good competition there. Speaking of people getting canned, I don't know if it's canned. It's resignation. Oliver Oaks. I think it's Oliver. I don't think I know him well enough to call him Ollie, so I'm going to go with Oliver Oaks.
I think if you call him Ollie, you got to be like, Ollie, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I think it's just
Oliver's more like Oliver Oaks.
Oliver,
please stand up.
Good to see you again. Yeah, Oliver Oaks or Mr. Oaks for me. Although I think we got to say Ollie or Oliver to keep it clear because his brother is involved in this one as well. Well, maybe he's not involved. We don't know. We don't know the situation is.
We don't know.
No one really does. Is that Oliver Oaks has resigned effective immediately right after the Miami Grand Prix from his role as team principal over the Alpine team, and is known to be in Dubai. He just took off for Dubai. Yes, disappeared. Maybe
suspected to be in Dubai.
Maybe he's still there. Maybe he's not. We're not sure.
We don't know.
Yeah. Not sure about him. His brother was arrested the same weekend as the Miami Grand Prix for the way it was worded was for having a large amount of cash and I guess being charged with alleged transfer of legal funds or criminal funds or something like that. So yeah.
So Ollie Oaks' brother
here. Yeah.
So Ollie Oaks' brother caught riding dirty, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes, that's what I said.
And he was caught riding so dirty that his brother had to quit his job.
That's right. Yeah. Now listen, for you big Formula One fans out there, we should clarify, because we've got skid plate violations with wearing down the plank on the bottom of the car, riding dirty in this case. Something a little different. I don't know what to make of this one. I mean, I don't want to think badly of Oliver Oaks. I don't know if this is just bad timing. There's a lot of was this Flavio? Oh, I can never pronounce his name in one run. Flavio. Just call him Flavio. I can call him that.
It's a great first name to have. Anyway,
fantastic name to have. He's a bit of a character, so I think anytime something like this happens, somebody's going to ask, like, was Mr. Oaks clashing with Flavio? Was there an issue there? Flavio came out with a statement that was pretty supportive. We were getting along fine. So I don't know if there's really any reason to suspect any foul play here. The other rumor on the table is that Ollie Oaks was, I'm just too familiar. I'm going to call him Ollie. Was Ollie Oaks slotted in to take over for Christian Horner at Red Bull? And is he resigning to get ready for that switch?
Yeah. So I think a lot of speculation was just exploding. It was just popping off because nothing had really surfaced. When he first resigned, no one really knew that there was something going on with his brother. But as I understand it, Ollie Oaks has some history with some motorsport company, promotion, driver management, I'm not really sure, that has ties to the Mazepin family. Well-known kind of oligarch family in Russia.
Okay.
Had, one of the younger Mazepins driving in a Haas for a while.
Yep. Nikita.
The Haas was even Nikita. The Haas was even
I think he was crashing a Haas more than driving it, but go ahead.
Sure. Didn't show too much promise. Kind of like the Stroll, the Northern European Stroll. Yeah, the Stroll of Russia.
Yeah.
So all the things happen in global politics. Don't have to get into that, but obviously the Russians aren't necessarily welcome in the sport at the moment, given sanctions and things like that. So I think there was maybe some suspicion of there being a workaround happening through this company, and the getting caught riding dirty piece probably had to do with just hey, when you're skirting sanctions and you're trying to move money internationally, sometimes you got to do it, the old-fashioned way, the old Loomis Fargo, horse and coach kind of way. So
Loomis Fargo, when you got to pass cash, you got to pass cash around. Well, I'm hoping Ollie Oaks was not involved. I'm hoping that we get more drama, more switch up, more change up with, I don't know how likely it is that Christian Horner is moving on anytime soon, but it would be fun to see some more shake up in the Formula One scene.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I would hope Christian Horner's career wasn't over. If he were to depart Red Bull, I would be concerned for Red Bull. I mean, I know it's known to be chaotic over there, but what happens if the only person there is Max Verstappen and Dr. Marco.
Dr. Marco. And Jos. Did we decide how to pronounce Verstappen's dad's name?
Jos. I think it's Jos.
Well, a lot going on. I mean, I won't think the worst of Ollie until we get some more information about what's going on with him. But I do love these taking off for Dubai. It adds a lot of intrigue to the week's news and the week's updates. Not a ton of other updates from my side. I saw the new F1 movie trailer. Did you see the new F1 movie? They're saying.
I haven't seen the most recent trailer.
Okay.
Although it's on the list now.
Yeah. Well, all right, I'll give you my quick reaction to it. Then you can watch it. Then you can let me know what you think. It's the same thing. Brad Pitt's getting older. He's an older driver, and people are wondering why. And is he back? And can he really have an impact, or is he too old? So, I hope the answer is no. I hope the answer is no. He's going to be great. He's going to be a great.
He's not too old.
Yeah,
you're never too old.
Great mentor for another younger driver. It honestly looks really good. I do think they probably heard. I think the biggest fuss I heard when I saw the initial, it wasn't even really a teaser trailer. It was really just more that they were filming it. The initial reaction I heard was Brad Pitt's just too old, unless he's supposed to be a team principal or something. That was the big fuss. Was it's not going to be believable if they have this old driver. They seem to be doubling down on making sure everyone knows that they know that he's too old. That he's,
right.
It's
all part of the show, folks. It's all part of the show.
It's all part of the show. Yeah. So honestly, it looks really good. I think it's going to be strong. Still struggling to get my hands on that soundtrack. Soundtrack makes a movie. So, either get that soundtrack together.
For sure.
Or you just watch Formula One. So,
right.
Yeah. Great Formula One trailer. Hey, last but not least, we got some Cadillac updates. I know all of our fans out there waiting for Cadillac updates are excited about Cadillac entering the market. In Miami, they had a big logo reveal. I'd say it was kind of a la F175, right? It's the Cadillac logo, just black and white.
Dud, the whole thing?
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know what we all expected them to bring out, like some completely new Cadillac logo, but it's just the Cadillac logo, but black and white.
It's a good logo. I think, it's refined. Fine. It's a distillation of, old positives of, good Cadillac logos. The Cadillac logo it's a badge, it's a symbol, right?
It's
so
a shield.
I think they did a tasteful rendering of it for the, to kind of keep it simple. And obviously it's going to have to be printed on a shirt, on a car, on a lot of different things, a lot of different ways, dark background, light background.
On an old black and white printer. That'd be fine too. Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben, your inkjet printer is going to have to print it at least once so that we can get some good,
I think we've established my inkjet printer prints at least as well as the Ferrari livery team does.
Absolutely. No, but I think the event was kind of a dud just because my expectations were like, okay, some things are happening.
Full livery reveal.
And it turns out it was just a bunch of photo ops with one little nugget of here you go.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by it felt kind of similar to F175, right? Like big news, not such big news. I will say I was talking to my reserve drivers, my young reserve drivers the other day about different car badges and American cars specifically. Cadillac, I think Cadillac and Buick. Buick is like a badge you don't see that often now. Buick's struggling, I think. Have got to have the most European looking ones. They're literally shields. Like Buick has 3 shields, Cadillac's got 1.
Yeah, very very coat of arms ish.
Yeah, and I was thinking, see, they're the perfect badge in America to go into a European setting and look the part.
Yeah,
and then I realized Chevrolet just has the English cross, the England cross, red cross for their badge, but
or if you're from our neck of the woods, the bow tie.
The bow tie, yeah.
Or as we like to say, if you're a Chevrolet diehard fan, bow tie till I die.
Bow tie till I die.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Chevy fan, but I know there are that have a really strong opinion about this. Anyway, so Cadillac, some big news there with the not big news with the logo, but updates. They are going to be using Ferrari power unit, gearbox, and rear suspension. more and more kind of outsourcing parts and outsourcing gear, which I think we, kind of expected. Um, I had not seen yet that they'd already named, I think it's Graham Loden is the team principal. Graham Loden had some time on a team called it was like an old F1 team from 2012, 2005, or 2012 to 2015. Um, Masserai or something like that. It wasn't a team that I was familiar with. Became Manor. What was it called? Marussia Formula
Uh,
One team,
yeah,
and then
Marussia. I think
became
they called it Marussia because I think it had.
Marussia.
I think the sponsor. Speaking of Russian involvement in Formula One, I think there was the title sponsor was a Russian company.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. That's
I
just,
think,
I mean, that's
if I
just
remember
making me
correctly.
look bad, right? Like if I said Marussian, somebody'd be like, "You dumb American, it's Marussia," and I say Marussia,
Well,
you're like, "Yeah, it's Marussian."
don't forget, Martin Brundle's going to be calling it whatever Martin Brundle wants to, and that's usually the voice that's ringing in my head
Yeah,
from back in the
he's gonna
day.
call it Marussia, and then Graham is spelled Graeme, which is like Grammy. I
I'm
had to
not
look
even going
that
to take
one
a
up.
shot at that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
good. Hey,
uh, bringing in him as a team principal. You know what I was thinking was we talk about like Formula One, Drive to Survive, all the things that kind of bring people in and get people hooked on the sport. We really need a detailed Netflix documentary that follows the Cadillac team building a team from scratch. Like, how do you
absolutely.
actually enter this sport and they get the premises, like the millions of dollars they're putting into this, trying to name team principals. Where do you source all this stuff? I know that sounds dumb, but I would love to see a documentary on like where do you get the garage specs for this stuff? Where do you get the workbenches and the computers and the printers? I know they have a lot of stuff at Cadillac, and they've been in IndyCar and other racing series, so I'm sure they have the facilities for this, but I would love to see a documentary on how you build a F1 team from the ground up. I don't know what we'd call it, but yeah.
I mean,
Submit a
it's definitely like it's got some Hard Knocks vibes, right? Um, Even though that's not really the from scratch piece. I guess we've talked about here on the show the Drive to Survive is the equivalent of Hard Knocks, more or less, except it's following all the teams, all the drivers at once. So
right.
I would like a very like singular, introspective, like I mean, we're talking minutia here, right? But like, how do you hire for the pit crew? What are the terms there? Like, what is the like? How do you
Yeah.
like? Is your if you borrow from if you poach from other teams, like you're not just it's not like this zero sum game circular deal because there's like we're adding a new team to the grid, so like you
Right.
need an extra 500 people or whatever to come into the industry, come into the sport.
Right. Yeah. I assume it's got to take a lot of time. And then I haven't actually even seen. Do you know is Cadillac F1 team going to have like a UK base? Most teams have a UK base except for Ferrari, right?
I don't think I've seen that detail yet. I thought they were going to have a like a North Carolina base, similar to to how Haas says that they do.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
going
I
to
saw
be
the
sort of
North
like
Carolina note. Yeah.
there's going to be sort of like some overlap with an existing motorsport entity of some kind.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but it would make sense for them to have a European base,
Okay.
UK
Well,
especially.
the internet is saying Silverstone, somewhere around Silverstone. So I'm not sure how much effort, but I saw the North Carolina base. That makes sense. So you would have kind of a headquarters here, but a European operation. Ferrari's still the same. One of the only teams that doesn't have a UK based office, right, or a UK based headquarters.
Um,
The rest of them all
uh,
have.
Racing Bulls, I think, is technically based
Oh, in Italy as well.
in Italy. Obviously, like sort of by default, and I think one of the changes they made for development drivers, or the whatever, all but
Yeah.
the two drivers that sit in the Red Bull cars. One of the changes they made was to get them a little bit more central to the UK or to like the Red Bull HQ in UK, and
Okay.
give them like more exposure, more face time there. That's old news that I'm really fuzzy on. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because there's that connection between Racing Bulls and Red Bull, in theory they have a UK base by default. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
Hmm.
I think all the other ones have, even if they're technically based or technically from a different country, they're all one way or the other. Even Alpine, right? They've got
Yeah.
huge ties to France's
France.
largest automaker, but still based in UK.
Yeah, I always find that interesting, especially with Red Bull, straight out of Austria. And the fact that Red Bull's junior team, as you might want to call them, the Racing Bulls, are based out of Italy instead of out of Austria. You'd expect at least one of those teams to be out of Austria, but I guess that's
Yeah.
separation of church and state for the Racing Bulls and Red Bull. So yeah, excited to see the Cadillac stuff. I'm with you. I'd love to see even more detail. I'd love to see that documentary at some point. If nothing else, I'd love to see like a James Vowles type updates, like weekly updates from Graham Loden, right? Just like
Yeah.
hello everybody, we want to address like questions about our new logo, right?
Right.
Just
Right.
jump out there, give us some updates on what's going on.
Come on. Show us a little something. Give us a little FaceTime.
Yeah, James Vowles tells us every time, he's like, hey, I want to give you an update on how much it costs to buy a new wing for the Williams. We did tear one off. It costs a lot. It's thanks, buddy. That's enough detail. I think we got it. All right, storylines let's get into the Imola Grand Prix, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in
Yeah, and
Italy.
before we talk about the actual track and get into any kind of details there, I would like to request just a quick moment of silence. And if for you at home, no need to observe necessarily, but this is the place where Ayrton Senna's career ended. For those of you who are new to the sport, Ayrton Senna, obviously, kind of one of the heroes or legends of the sport.
Yeah.
This is the track where he wrecked, had his fatal wreck, and perished. So it's, to me, it's interesting there as a spot to just kind of like remember how, first of all, how dangerous the sport used to be, and how tragic the loss of someone who was so so key to the sport was. So
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
carries a lot of
Cool.
meaning for the drivers, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Visiting a place that has a lot of history, and then similar to kind of visiting a loved one that you've lost or something like that, right? It's a big deal for the drivers to, I think, to be there as well. Yeah. For me, having been relatively new, it took me a minute to kind of parse out the difference between the Italian Grand Prix. It's always confusing to me when they talk about the Italian Grand Prix, but are they talking about Monza or are they talking about Imola? So,
Well, for a while, this one was called the San Marino Grand Prix. San Marino is a city-state similar to like Monaco or
okay.
Andorra. So for a while, they would, for I think up until like 2006 or something like that, they called it the San Marino Grand Prix, tied to, not, it wasn't in San Marino. San Marino's a ways away. It's in northern Italy, but it's not quite where this is. This is closer to the city of Bologna, kind of like how Monza is close to the city of Milan.
Okay.
So that's the access. That's like what justifies there being a circuit there. But yeah, they parsed it out back in the day, calling it the San Marino GP.
Good to know. See, this is all useful to me because if you're relatively new, they just use these words interchangeably. They just call it Imola, or they call it Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, or the Italian Grand Prix, Monza, Tempo, right? They kind of roll these titles out, and it's tough to keep track of, well, which one is this? Are we talking about the stadium, the track, the location, the city? Yeah, and it's a good track. A lot of the drivers like this one. I think Pierre Gasly very famously said it's one of his favorites, or just kind of electrifying from a driver standpoint. So it's a fun track to drive, although not necessarily on the surface in your face about the excitement. I think we've got a lot of stuff going into it, or a lot of interest going into it, specifically with that kind of Ferrari hype train. Daniel, it's time we visit the Ferrari hype train, see how the engineers are doing keeping us on track. It's there was a lot of hype, obviously, with Hamilton coming in at the beginning of the year, announcing that he was coming in at the beginning of last year. And then I think the Ferrari hype train is still on the tracks. It's just kind of stalled out at the moment, and they're trying to figure out how to get it moving again.
Yeah, I mean they're not failing, right? They're not dropping. They're not losing ground to the competition. They're I would say they're kind of in like a fits and spurts or starts or whatever the phrase is stage. We talked about Hamilton's performance in the sprints versus the GPs, and if you just think about how much that car has changed, and you think about the things that caused them to change that car, the hype was real and the hype was justified all the way up until the point that they got this double disqualified. Right? They had to make
Sure.
maybe what we'll find out at some point was a very severe, very drastic change to the entire setup of the car. Hamilton likes that lower ride, like that lower rear end setup on the car, led to problems with regulations. So now, it's kind of like we're forcing a square peg into a round hole. Can't be that low with the way the car is designed right now. What are we doing? So to me, the hype, it's on pause. It's on ice.
He likes to
Because
ride that low, but he ground his skid plate down. He's the one that wore his plank down too far. Yeah. Riding dirty, but in a Formula One sense, if you will. They're pretty close.
Riding Sparky. Too Sparky.
Riding Sparky. They're close to Red Bull, what was formerly known as Team Max, but now we've officially labeled as Red Bull. Hashtag Yuki Tsunoda pulling his weight. They're a good 11 points behind Red Bull Racing. You're right. Without the WDQ, they'd already be in third place in the constructors and chasing down Mercedes, or trying to chase down Mercedes. McLaren's the only one that's really kind of walking away with this one. But yeah, is the Ferrari hype train back on track? It doesn't seem like the Scuderia, the Scuderia, I said that right, show up quite as hardcore at Imola as they do at Monza. I think just because of the hype of Monza, but they're still there. I think they're going to be interested in seeing if the Ferrari hype train can get going again. At least see some more consistent performance. Not a whole lot else. Gunther Steiner, he's piped up again this week. He's added to the confusion around Lando, but I think my look is can Lando kind of bounce back, right? Piastri's gotten 3 in a row. If Norris wants to stay in the title fight, he's going to have to get another win or two here pretty quickly, or Piastri's just going to pull away with this one. I think they're too closely matched.
I mean, Lando's 16 points behind. Verstappen is 16 points behind Lando. So the gaps are evenly spaced. I think that Oscar's on a roll. He's got good momentum. If Lando doesn't show up or doesn't sort of knock that momentum off track, then sure, Oscar Piastri walks away from Lando much in the same way that McLaren's walking away from the rest of the grid. But I still believe in Lando. Not sure what Gunther said about Lando or his chances. Maybe you could fill us in on that.
It was pretty positive. I mean, I think everybody's trying to find these gentle ways. If you read a lot of the notes out there, it seems like everybody's trying to say, Lando, just focus on yourself. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Just stay focused. Which I think is the worst thing to tell somebody who's really stressed out and really struggling to get out of their head. It's like, don't worry about it. Whatever you do. I think everybody. So Gunther just said something along the lines of, "Hey, you should focus on himself." Right? I think somebody asked him, "Is he too worried? Is he worried about crashing into Max? Is he too conservative?" And he just said, he just needs to focus on himself. Ignore that stuff. He had a comment that, of course, got blown up into a headline that was, at some point he's going to crash into Max, and he just needs to be comfortable with that. Which I get, but also. No, he needs to pass Max and move along up the road and not let Max wipe him out of a race and keep that title fight too close. But
at the very least, he shouldn't be the only one who crashes into Max and jeopardizes his ability to finish. Right.
Right.
I really think it's a two-way street. But when you say crash into Max, I'm like, what? Why don't we say Max crashes into him?
Right.
Or what?
I think it was more. I think it was more just more like they're going to, if they're going to fight that hard, they're going to come together at some point. You can't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't worry. I'm not going to hold your positive bias for Max against you. I'm kidding.
Get him, Max. Go get him.
But no, I mean, in a sense, maybe he's the one who's showing the most restraint in this sense. We talked about how long it took, or Piastri style in overtaking or dueling with Max versus Lando style in dueling or overtaking with Max. A million different things could have contributed to those two very good, fun to watch outcomes. But in this sense, does Lando know Max better than Piastri and therefore got around him faster, kind of knowing where he could and couldn't sort of take those chances or put himself in harm's way? Versus Piastri, who may have been a little bit more, we called him robotic a little bit, right? He was very just like on the line every time, or just not quite in the way every time, and waited till the perfect moment. Yes, he was super aggressive the whole time, but Lando took way fewer laps to get around, way fewer turns to get around Max than Piastri did.
Well, hopefully we get a dry race. There's a chance of rain. Hopefully we get a dry race and we get to see Lando Norris kind of pop back, get some of that energy back. He was fun to watch in Miami. He had a great comeback in that Grand Prix after dropping to sixth. So he had a great race. It's still, like you said, I think it's still easy to support Norris. He's a great driver. He's fun to watch.
Love his helmet designs.
We love his disco ball helmets. Had a comment, by the way. I didn't even see this or catch this. He switched from like an actual disco ball helmet to a painted helmet for the race. And that explains why there was some question about the legality of his helmet. I guess the original one he showed was not actually legal. It was an actual disco ball helmet.
It was
which
actually
I expect to
reflective.
wear. Yeah, which I expect him to wear at all the Formula One post-race parties from now on for his team. Well, all right. Let's. I think that's about it. It's going to be a great race. There is a chance of rain. We'll kind of see how that develops. In terms of this one, it's early morning. So if you're on U.S. time zones, at least this is going to be. I think it's a 9:00 qualifying time Central Time, 8:00 race Central Time. You're kicking off a great run of European races. So if you don't count Canada, we're in Europe from here until mid-September. So we're entering the kind of European phase of Formula One. It's always fun. Seems like you kind of get
So
50-50
if we're
rain.
going for the gap, so what gap are we going for? In my mind, the gap that I'm going for is get up and watch the race. The rest of the weekend is yours. The rest of
all
the day
yours.
is yours. This is one of the beautiful things about Formula One and how it works for us Americans over here on Eastern, Central, and Pacific, or Mountain and Pacific time.
Get to that European race, just get up early. And if you spent a bunch of time prepping for Mother's Day last week, you're already ready for it. Just get up early and watch your race. Get on with your weekend. Should be good. I do love the European schedule just because you can have all your Formula One done by the end of breakfast if you have a slow morning. So
absolutely
should be good. Some nicknames, Daniel. I got to throw a couple out there. Just a couple of track nicknames to be thinking about. Imola. It looks like a sock, and given that it takes place in Italy, which looks like a boot, I've gone with some sock options here. We could just call it the sock, which I'm not against. I also had trying to mess with the Italian job, the Italian sock. I don't know. We'll see about that. Or just knock your socks
the
off.
country of Italy is shaped like a boot. Monza looks like a foot boot socks kind of shape.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this the sock that goes on the foot that goes in the Monza boot? Is this Monza?
Okay.
Is this the Monza?
And then Italy itself
is
your dress boots for the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just it's like Russian nesting dolls,
Yeah. I don't know. Is that
Imola and the Monza?
Is Imola mad
Italy.
about that? Is Imola going to be like, we don't want to be the sock in Monza's boot?
I mean, it is the minor of the lesser of the races in Italy, right? Like Monza is Monza. I mean, the contract for Imola expires this year. No one knows if it's going to be renewed or extended.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Whereas, you really think Monza's going to let that contract expire? There's no chance.
You mean Imola or Monza? Monza wants to keep it.
Monza would never let their contract expire. Imola is on the fence, right? But if you were to say Monza's contract was expiring, we'd be like, what? What has happened?
Yeah.
Imola.
I can hear the Tifosi screaming from here.
Okay, I will grant you, it is the junior race of the Italian Grand Prix.
It's the bar above the Grand Prix in Italy.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll kind of workshop that a little bit. I feel like we can do better than Italian soccer, the soccer, even knock your socks off. So if you've got suggestions, throw them in. Daniel, you got any quick reactions for me as we wrap up here?
I've got a couple for you tonight. Okay. First of all, suggestion from friend of the pod and avid listener. We've talked a little bit about, fairness in calling these penalty points, fairness, bias, preference, whatever, what have you. So a good idea here, and I just kind of want to get your reaction here, is what if we used AI to obscure the livery of the cars? So we have kind of an impartial team that only gets to review footage in these questions of penalty or obstructions or breaking the rules, only gets to review footage of these moments that have been artificial intelligence masked. So we kind of get like two equal looking cars, same livery. So we don't know which driver's which car is which. And then we have a potential for an impartial decision. What say you, Ruben? Should we bring in AI to
I love everything about that
Formula One
suggestion.
officiating?
I don't know who your friend of the podcast is, but no, we need more suggestions like that. I think that's a fantastic idea. I don't know, especially I know there's some design elements too that might make it relatively obvious. The little sawtooth blade going down the back of some of these cars or whatnot. But yeah, a little bit of blurring there. But if you were to just kind of black them all out, so they were just like a matte black finish, and you couldn't helmets too, and you had no idea. I love that idea. Especially for some of these like really close contest ones, you don't have to debate like, oh, was Max a little too aggressive there?
Yeah, which one's in the points lead? Which one had an infraction previously? All these things. I mean, obviously, some of this has to be taken into account. If it's your third or fourth infraction, you should probably get 10 seconds instead of 5, whatever. But that can be determined later by someone who knows. So, like, I think the main call, I love the idea. I think the main call should be made so impartially, and if we can leverage technology to make that happen, why not?
I like that idea. I think at some point, of course, somebody's going to say, well, just use AI for the entire thing, right? To like look at that aggressive angle of attack. But the real question is, who could you convince to not watch the real race? Because real people who've watched for real are probably going to say like, I remember that was Max cutting that corner or whatever it is. You'd have to. Have you ever seen this series on YouTube? It's like I think it's produced by like Drumeo, where they put a famous drummer in the seat and they play songs for him or her about like they play songs that don't have a drum line in it. They take famous songs and take the drum line out, and they play them until they find one that they've never heard before, and then they have them play what they think the drum should be. It'd be like that. You'd have to just sit down.
I've clicked on a few of these, and you're right. You're absolutely right.
You'd have to like sit somebody down who is really good at Formula One. Would be like, but you haven't seen this race. Okay, great. I need you to watch this. I need you to watch this overtake and tell me, is this Kevin Magnussen, or is it another driver that doesn't crash that off? I love that idea, and that's great. We should do that. We should try to figure if you are a proprietor of excellent AI products, call us or email us at info@thecriticallap.com. All right, I got a quick reaction for you. Just as a gut reaction, quick reaction, gut reaction. Is there anything actually going on with Oliver Oaks, or is he just taking a break because it's not a good fit?
I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and this guy's kind of on the lam in Dubai, allegedly in Dubai. Who knows really where he is? Yeah, I think something's going on.
Okay,
I think there's something going on.
Ah.
I would say that a lot of the speculation early on, before anyone knew anything about his brother, before that was like a really like well circulated fact. It was, is he replacing Christian Horner? Is there some sort of controversy over Colapinto coming in Imola? Is he against that, and does he not like the call that was made or forced upon him or something like that?
Right.
Those kind of things, if those were still the more viable explanations for why he actually resigned, yeah, maybe I could say nothing going on. It just, again, where there's smoke, there's fire. It quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck at this point.
Yeah, I could see that, because it also seems like if your brother is arrested for what his brother was arrested for, and you go into the Alpine team and you're like, "Hey, listen, I'm resigning." If I was Flavio, I'd be like, "Hey, can you just fine, but can you hold on that announcement for a week?" Like, there's no reason to make everybody ask, right? Like, we'll just fly home. We've got a week off, Anyway, all right. Any more quick reactions?
So, next one for you.
Yep.
I mean, this isn't the quick reaction part. Did you see the water bottle that Zach Brown had in Miami?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which label? the tire? You're talking about the tire?
The tire
water
label
tire.
on his drinking or his bottle, his water bottle.
Heck yes, I did. No, hold on. I should be fair. I didn't see it in real time. I was not watching so closely that I saw it in real time.
I don't know if anyone did. I think it was something that was just on footage or caught in footage that wasn't aired in the live stream. I didn't see it until after. Not to say that I would have seen it per se, but I think either a really sharp eye caught it and then pulled up some other stream of footage.
Right.
Quick reaction though.
Yep.
Is McLaren up to no good with their brake cooling?
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything going on there at all. And I think I'm not going to get into the whole. We had this debate with Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, right? Like, which one would you take in a fight, kind of thing. I'm not going to get into the whole who would you take, Zach Brown or Christian Horner in a fight, or who's being more childish or argumentative. I don't really care. I think it's hilarious. I don't think there's anything going on with tire water cooling, putting water in the tires to cool, and I think it's just hilarious that he put stickers all over his bottle. But
I love the tongue-in-cheek, taunting behavior from Zach Brown. That's a perfect thing to have in the sport, where even the guy at the top of the team is, down to earth enough or playful enough, not too that doesn't take himself too seriously, that where he can have, kind of play that kind of joke. But what I want to point out here is McLaren's forthcoming behavior. They're just like, no, like bring your evidence.
Yeah.
If you have evidence, bring it. We are confident in what we're doing. We know we're following the rules. Just like the mini DRS last year, there was nothing wrong with it, because it had not, like, it was a loophole that had not been closed. Once it got closed, they complied.
Yeah,
they are just squeezing every drop of innovation out of that team and applying it to this car. And I love seeing and I love investigating all the different realistic explanations for what's actually going on with brake cooling, with tire temperature management. And I love that it's actually something that's given them an advantage. Like, all these teams for years have put innovation and effort into making the car better. And a lot of times the products that they delivered are just marginal enough to be talked about and not really bring a performance improvement. This, with the car or with the tires of the McLaren, seems to kind of be their main edge, honestly.
Yeah, they are managing to keep those tires in a really good temperature window, which is great and impressive. I do go back to, and maybe this is more quick reaction that we need to unpack at some point. But Zach Brown right now is really kind of calling out Christian Horner's tendency to constantly allege things about other teams. And Zach Brown is starting to say, you have to have some, you have to literally put your money where your mouth is. If you're going to, it feels a little bit like frivolous lawsuits, right? Where you can just drag someone into court if you have enough money over and over again until they say, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. It feels similar to that. Just you can't just make allegations that somebody's putting water in their tires or that their back wing is too bendy. Submit a complaint, submit an actual report, right? Because if you're wrong, you should at least be charged or penalized for wasting everybody's time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's frustrating to me, and I don't know. It's. I will say that is the part of Christian Horner's behavior that I don't love, and I know he's just competitive, so I can't fault him too much for that. But it does get irritating sometimes. No, I don't think they're putting water in their tires. Yes, I do love Zach Brown's water bottle. And I kind of want one. Just to carry around. So people are like, what's tire water? And be like, oh, McLaren can't use this anymore, so I'm drinking it. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's just about it. I don't have any other quick reactions for you, Daniel. So I think it's probably time to wrap it up. Excited for the Grand Prix weekend. I've had enough breaks. If we could just have races from here on out, that would be great. Get ready for Imola. Make sure you clear your schedule for Saturday and Sunday morning for qualifying and the race. If you are loving the Critical Lap, please subscribe, like, drop a comment, share with a friend. And as always, thanks to our legendary pit wall producer, Chris P.
And
Thanks. We'll see you next time with our Grand Prix recap on Sunday. Enjoy the race.
See you next time.